All right. Hey, everyone. Mark here, Mark B Markets. Thank you for joining me for another Bitcoin video session here, analysis session. Again, I'm running a little bit behind. Sorry about that. Let's get this thing started. So if you're new to the stream, welcome. I stream usually at this time every Monday. And what we do here is I go over three things. First, I go over the economic calendar very quickly so that we're aware of what kind of events can shape markets this week. Second, we go over the Bitcoin chart. In fact, let me make this a little bit bigger here. Okay, we go over the Bitcoin chart and we review the analysis that I published on TradingView the day before, so we can talk about that and I can answer questions about that in greater detail. And then third, we turn on the Trade Scanner Pro and we see if we could find any trades so I can demonstrate how to effectively use the Trade Scanner Pro script. All right, so with all that said, let me just say hello to my regulars. I know Steven couldn't make it today, but he had mentioned, he had some stuff to do. So this is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. All right, let me just say my quick hellos. All right, so James, good to see you from London, India, from London. And we have Savi from Savali from, is that Savi from Brooklyn or are you another Savi? And I'll answer your question. Dijon, good to see you, lad. All right, Giovanni, ¿cómo está? Giovanni Caro, I guess you're expensive, right? Caro means expensive in Spanish. And Dom, good to see you. Brooklyn is Savi from Brooklyn. I thought so. That's my Brooklyn accent. And okay, yeah, Dom, I'm on now. I'm just running a little bit behind. Anyway, okay, good to see you guys. All right, so let's start. Let's get into the economic calendar. Actually, before I begin, really quick, if you're new to the stream, again, welcome, Kai. Living in New York, like to show the king of. Well, I've seen that show. It's been, yeah, it's kind of funny, but I haven't seen it in a long time. But yeah, that show was funny. Anyway, so make sure you check the links in the description. Okay, if you're new, if you want to try the Trade Scanner Pro out for free for 14 days, there's a link in the description. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on that. We also have some other links. If you want to join the Discord community, there's a free area for that. Right now, the Trade Scanner bot, we're doing some maintenance on it. So it hasn't produced any signals for a while. The thing is, this month is not a good month for signals to begin with generally, okay? August is a very tough month usually for smaller time frame strategies. And I believe it has to do with a function of volume. Seasonal volume goes to its absolute lows of the year this month, typically weeks 3 and 4. So something to keep in mind. Anyway, we're doing some maintenance and the bot will be up and running again soon. So if you subscribe to it, just be patient. You'll still get your trade of the week. We're still continuing that. It's just we're doing some maintenance right now. Okay, so you could still sign up for that and get on the list. That's free. Also, if you are interested in TradingView, there's an affiliate link there. Steen gets a small cut if you'd like to sign up for TradingView. There are some benefits to doing that, but it's not a requirement if you're using the Trade Scanner Pro. You do not need to sign up, but it's helpful. Also, if you'd like to try out other exchanges like Bybit or MEXC and you're a non-US resident, there are affiliate links for that there as well. Those go to Steen also. Helping him goes a long way into helping the community. He does a lot of work here for helping to make it for a greater experience. And if you'd like to just leave a tip, there are some links for that as well. Okay, there's a Polygon link and an Ethereum link. All right, let's move along here. Again, hey, okay, good to see you guys. It's been accurate with SPY puts made money. Okay, oh, cool. So you've been shorting the SPY. Nice with puts. Yeah, actually, the Trade Scanner Pro works really well with options, particularly vertical spreads. I haven't got into that because my following is not typically an options type of following, but I trade options as well. I just don't talk about it because, options are a complex thing. They can be a complex thing, especially if you're very new to them. So I don't get into that here. But the Trade Scanner Pro does do well with options. Because why? Options offer a ton of flexibility. That's the reason. Anyway, hey, Milad, good to see you. All right, cool. Milad, the only guy in New York City who actually watches me. Cool. Thanks. Good to see you. All right. Now, let's talk about the economic calendar very quickly, shall we? By the way, if you like what I'm doing, press the like button, subscribe to the channel. That always helps. And also make sure you check out my Twitter. You can subscribe there as well, because that's where I publish my TradingView article every Sunday besides TradingView. And sometimes I put some extra stuff on there as well. All right. Now, economic calendar. You should always be in the habit of checking your economic calendar each week. This week is pretty much a quiet week. Okay. The only things that I saw that were notable were we have Bank of Australia rate announcement, which is tomorrow, Tuesday. And then I saw New Zealand had I believe New Zealand had an employment report also tomorrow on Tuesday. And I think China had like a CPI on Thursday. But besides that, there's really nothing worth mentioning. It's a quiet week. By the way, the Australia rate announcement does not have an effect on the dollar or on the US markets typically. So I would not consider those heavy market events. The previous week, we had the FOMC, we had non-farm payrolls, and that's usually a big deal. And coincidentally, Bitcoin has been in this bearish momentum phase ever since. I don't know if that has anything to do with those economic reports, but it's a funny coincidence, isn't it? Anyway, okay, hey, Aries, good to see you. Okay, so that were some wild days for the markets. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm just looking at the comments here. All right, so now that's pretty much the economic calendar. It doesn't matter which one you check. You can check any one you want. You just want to look for major events. And again, like I have to remind you, August is a slow month and it's only going to get slower. We're in week 1 right now. So weeks 3 and 4 are typically the slowest of the year. And you may say, well, who cares? Well, here's how that can affect things. For example, in ways that you may not expect, like there may be like a sustained move, right? Where an index or a market or whatever just goes in a straight line and it just keeps going, right? And it just doesn't turn. That's a function of low volume because there's no one to get in the way to get it to turn. This is why stepping in front of levels is extremely bad in this environment in particular. It's a bad idea to begin with, but in this environment in particular, it can be very painful because markets are going to be more erratic. They're going to just do things that don't make sense because it's a function of lower volume. So again, lower volume is not necessarily a bearish thing. It just means movements make less sense. Think of it that way. Don't always think in terms of bullish and bearish. Low volume means lack of follow through. Low volume means failure to turn at a level and all those kind of things, okay? You can also get a sharp, dramatic move in something like we see with Bitcoin right now in a lower volume environment because there's no one to support this thing, okay? So it just basically, I like to think of it as it increases the random nature of the market rather than decreasing it. Think of it like that, okay? Random nature of the market. By the way, if you're stuck in something like this, the only person you can blame is you. Let's get into this Bitcoin chart now. All right, I'm going to make it bigger. So let me ask you guys a question. Who was calling for shorts up here? Anyone? Any of your fake gurus calling for shorts back when we were testing these levels? I hadn't seen any. Maybe someone was calling for shorts. But my point is, usually when we're doing things like this, we have the higher low going for the higher high. All the experts and all the people who claim they know what they're doing usually project this further, which is a function of the herd mentality. And typically, you will see YouTube titles that say things like going to 100K, blah, 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 right? If you got sucked into that, you can only blame yourself because these people don't care and they claim to know this and that, and no one knows what they're doing. My point is, I'm not here to like rant on these people who don't know what they're doing. My point is, no one knows the future. And usually when things look obvious like this, you can't judge on this. Like, I'm going to rewind this here a bit, right? This is what it looked like a week ago. It looked like that, right? If you read my analysis from TradingView at the time, I was warning that this is a resistance area. 70K, 68K to 70K area is a resistance area. And I warned that it's high risk for longs, particularly investing and swing trade longs. High risk. Now, I could not forecast that it was going to blow through all these support levels and touch and go below 50K. I could not forecast that, nor do I pretend to be able to forecast events like that. All I could tell you was the risk was high. And when you know that, it's a lot easier to stay out of this thing's way. Now, the other thing I talked about in my article over that week was test of these supports, 66K, 64K, and 60K, which is this right here. And one thing I make very clear is you need to wait for confirmation. That's what the TradeScanner Pro does, by the way. It's a confirmation tool. Now, on this time frame, of course, there are other things you can use for confirmation. The TradeScanner Pro is ideal for smaller time frames. But on this time frame, for example, you had like this pin bar situation right here, which is like a repeat of this one. That was a confirmation, sort of, right? You got the pin bar, but was the high of the pin bar taken out, which is a key part of the confirmation process. Let's see. The high was 65,593. The next high was 65,557. It never took out the high. It just missed it. Maybe on other exchanges, maybe it tapped it. I don't know. But on Coinbase here, which is what this chart is, it never went above that high. So maybe you got sucked in because of a print on another exchange. That's very possible. But if that's the case, that's the whole point of having a stop and having your risk defined, which on this time frame would be the low of the pin bar. You don't want to hold it if it takes out that low, especially if it takes it out in one candle. This is the worst thing you can see after a pin bar, is it eats up the whole pin bar and takes out the low. Like there's no reason to be in it anymore at that point. Like you're out. You made a mistake. You take the loss. You have to be that decisive, even though it's in a support area, right? This thing is fooling around in this support area, but we blew through 60K. There was some hesitation here, but we just keep blowing through the levels. So markets are random. You always have to think of that as a priority. Markets are random first. So you can have your anticipated reversal idea in advance, okay? 64K, 60K. But if the market does not agree, you don't take positions on this time frame. You need confirmation. Now, another thing I want to point out, let me make this big here real quick. If you notice in this area, let me move this out of the way. In this area, you see these little tails on the candles, right? You see these little tails. That is ideal for who? Who can play that game? Anyone want to tell me? I'll give you a hint. Swing traders, you choose one. Swing traders or day traders? Who should be playing in this area? I mean, look at this move. From this low over here, right? What is this low? 59,871. And this high over here, 69.88. That's almost 1,000 points right there in that little period. You see that? I'm going to draw a little box there. This little area right here is almost 1,000 points. In fact, I can measure that. Let me get the ruler out. So if I measure this right here, that is over. It's almost 1,200. It's a little over 1,200 points. That little area. So you guys say day traders, day traders. Giovanni, no, not swing trades, day traders. Everyone else got it right here, day traders, because there's a 1,200 point potential move from this level to this little level here. You will not recognize that on a daily time frame, but this is the point that I'm making here is if you were using your TradeScanner Pro and you knew in advance, which all you had to do was look at my TradingView analysis charts and say, oh, 60K is a significant support level. You would switch your TradeScanner Pro into counter trend mode when you're flirting with 60, 59, whatever, right? And you get your reversals there and you have 1,200 point potential. That's for day trades. Now, are you going to capture 1,200 points? Definitely not. But capturing a couple hundred points is within reason. That is a day trade mentality. That's how you work with the day trade time frame. Okay, so there were movements, there were reversals off of the stupid thing's getting in my way here. There were reversals right off of 60K, but it was brief, and it was only available to people that are working on smaller time frames. So it's important to make sure you understand your time frame, and that again, that's why the TradeScanner Pro is such a valuable tool, because if you're taking a 1 minute trade, or let's just say a 5 minute, right? It doesn't have to be a 1 minute. Let's say it's a 5 minute. Your take profit and your stop loss is all defined for that time frame so that you don't get caught in something like this. So if you take some longs and they don't work out, right? You're losing 100 points, 150 points. Okay, cool. You're not losing, you shouldn't be losing 10,000 points because you hold on with hope, like, oh, it'll come back. It's 60K, it'll come back. It may not. You have to understand the magnitudes of your time frames. There was never a confirmation on this time frame. This time frame, daily chart, or you can look at a 4-hour chart, is appropriate for swing traders. Does that make sense? Hey, there's Stian. Wow, he's still, see, look, Stian is a really committed, he's committed. He's passionate because he had something to do today, okay, personal, and he still makes it here. He doesn't have to come here. Okay, so Stian, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. That's why you guys should show him some love, you know, give the guy a tip or something. Buy the TradingView, you know, subscribe to TradingView through his affiliate link. Because again, the guy is committed. He wants to see people do better here, and he's committed to helping make a better experience for everyone through his technology know-how. We wouldn't have the Trade Scanner Pro if he wasn't able to code that. All right. So anyway, again, thanks for stopping by, Stian. It's always good to see you. Now, another point that I want to make. Let's talk now about my TradingView article yesterday. You guys read the article? And the title of that article was Bitcoin Bearish? Not Yet. Let me ask you guys a quick question. Let's see if you guys got the point of the article. How many of you believe Bitcoin is bearish on this time frame? You can also, an acceptable answer is I don't know. You can say I don't know. But how many believe that Bitcoin is bearish on this time frame? How many? You could say yes or no, or I don't know. How many people do you think? I'm just curious. How many guys think it's bearish? Nice to be here. Okay, no problem. Not me. Okay, Savi. All right. So Savi doesn't believe it's bearish. Anyone else? Who believes that this is bearish? It's in a range, Savi says. Okay. All right. I'm not going to say anything about that yet. I want to see if we got any bears in here. Kai is bearish. Kai is probably joking. Okay. Maybe he's not. But does anyone believe Bitcoin is bearish on this time frame, which is the key phrase, on this time frame? Usually you get some novice. Okay. Lad says, I don't know. Okay. Usually you get some novice. Yeah, it's bearish. Yeah, this thing's going to zero. Right. And it's usually because they focus in on just this move. And sure, if you're watching 1 minute charts or 30-minute charts or whatever, this will give you a bearish trend on a smaller time frame. But you can't lose sight of the bigger picture. So this is why my argument is Bitcoin is not bearish yet. And that's the point of today's stream. How do we define the trend change? How do we determine the trend change? Well, first, it has to do with your time frame. That's the first thing you have to consider. You can't go to a 5-minute chart and the 5-minute chart says bearish and you're like, okay, the trend is bearish. That's the 5-minute only or smaller time frames. This is what you have to do. You have to go to the bigger picture, which is the daily time frame. When you zoom out, a lot of novices do not do this. They lose sight of this. This is not a bearish trend. This movement is bearish, yes. This momentum leg is bearish, but that's not the broader trend. I like to define the trend in 3 modes or 3 categories, right? You have short term, which this could qualify. Oops, hold on, that doesn't belong there. This can qualify as short term. This movement here. Short term, think of like going back a month. Then you have midterm, which goes back like maybe 3 to 6 months, something like this, right? Or something like that. And then you have long term, which goes back like this area. So long term, this isn't bearish. Not only that, so if the long term is still bullish, because we haven't taken out any major supports, really, we tested 50K briefly As you can see, it bounced off of 60K rather quickly so far. So we could still say 50K is still in play. We haven't taken out any other major supports, right? I don't see any of these supports taken out yet. It's close, but it hasn't taken them out. So this is not bearish yet on the bigger picture. If this is not bearish, then we look at our midterm and we say, well, this is range bound. The midterm is range bound, right? Well, we are messing around range lows within a broader bullish trend. That is a place to be looking for longs. It is crystal clear. It doesn't guarantee a long is going to work, but probability favors longs. Now, one thing I want to point out here also is this is zone right here, right? This is zone on the chart. That's a failed low zone or a high probability reversal zone. It is proportional to these lows right here, okay? These lows. So there's a high probability that buying activity will appear in that area. Now, will it appear exactly in the area? Look what occurred. It blew through the area. It went to 49K, but look what we have now, this long tail. So that's meaningful. It doesn't mean we could step in and buy this thing. There's no confirmation there. But one thing that this information tells us is we should not be extremely bearish here. We should be anticipating the reversal from the swing trade perspective on this time frame. Remember, trend is relative to your time frame. And we're looking here at the broad trend, the daily time frame, and we're zooming out like a year or something like that, okay? 6 months to a year. You want to be thinking long here because this is a high probability long, and we have evidence here and we have evidence back here. Can this level break and we can make the lower low? Yes, that is a possibility. So we always have to think on both sides. Our goal is not to forecast the future here. Our goal is to identify high probability locations where we can anticipate a higher probability outcome. So when we're pushing a failed low area like this, the higher probability outcome is the bounce, the reversal. So who goes short here and think it's going to, 25K, right? Those are the novices. Those are the people who react to their 5-minute charts and they lose sight of this, and they're only focused on this area right here. They focus on this. They say, oh, the trend is bearish. It's going to 20K. I told you it's going there, right? They focus just on this and they fail to recognize the location. So that is my point here today. So how do we tell the trend change? Well, we have to pick a level that basically is going to define the bigger picture trend. What needs to stay intact? You could do that in a number of ways. You can use a fib tool, right? You could measure the low to the high. Look where we're fooling around. This happens to be a 382 area, coincidentally, right? We touched almost the 50%, which I don't have here on my fib. We almost touched the 50%, just missed it. You can use that basically as a way to gauge, okay, as long as you're staying above that 50%, the bias should be on the long side. If we close below that 50%, then it becomes iffy. And we take out the 618, we take that out and we start going lower, then it may be more probable to work on the bearish side. But that can take a long time to prove. So again, the market tells us when to change our mind. We don't change our mind because some nonsense news comes out and we blow through some minor levels here relative to the bigger picture. And then your favorite fake guru tells you that Bitcoin's bearish. Okay? You have to put it into perspective. So based on what I just showed you, this isn't bearish yet. Maybe it becomes bearish, but right now it's not. Now, on that same token, no pun there. On that same token, these are investing levels. People always ask me about investing. Usually they ask me up here, is now a good time to buy Bitcoin? I want to invest. That's usually when they ask me. I don't get questions about investing a lot of times. Maybe from some of you guys that have been following me for a while, I'll get questions from you guys, but usually beginners don't ask me about investing here. This is the location to invest. So if you're in an investing plan, like we've talked about before, and you have a situation where you have an extreme break like this, a brief break, this is where you would put a larger allocation. Remember that example where I brought up, you have $10,000 to invest and you're going to invest once a month on a certain date. Let's say the middle of the month, you're going to buy a certain amount, and we're going to do that based on location. Remember? So when you're pushing highs, you're buying $100 worth, right? Month after month. So that if this occurs, you're not taking a lot of pain. And then when it occurs, instead of buying $100 worth, maybe you buy $200 worth now. Maybe in this instance, you buy $300 worth. Eventually, all of your $10,000 will be allocated, but you want to be weighted at lower prices. This is why you don't invest $10,000 up here. Oh, it's going to break out. It's going 100K. My 10,000 is only 7,500 now. I don't understand. Okay, so this is where you allocate a little bit more. You wait for opportunities like this. No one can tell you that it's going to go from here to where it is now. No one. It just catches people by surprise. This type of thing occurs all the time. So that's random. Get used to it, right? So if you want to allocate more, this is the time to do it. Now, keep in mind, there's no guarantee that it's going to reverse here. In my article, I wrote that I was anticipating the reversal at the 53K area, that area, 56 to 53K, and we blew below it. And we're trying to reverse now. So my illustration that you see here is not exactly accurate. I was anticipating a push lower, but I was anticipating a little bit more support in here, as you can see. But anticipating it and taking a position are not the same thing. I stressed you must wait for confirmation. And even at this point, as I'm talking about this right now, there's no confirmation. What would confirmation look like? Well, we have a nice example right here with this arrow. That's what this arrow shows, right? This is confirmation on this time frame. You can also use the Trade Scanner Pro on this time frame, but you basically want to see something like this in this location. What do you have here? Notice this took a few days, right? Pin bar, break of pin bar high, high or low. This high was taken out of these candles, right? Even though you get some bearish candles here, you get a break of those bearish candle highs. It took some time. It was a process. That's Savi asked earlier about a complex reversal versus a simple reversal. A pin bar is a one candle simple reversal. See the pin bar? Let me make that bigger in case you can't see it. This is a beautiful pin bar right here. Okay? That's a simple reversal. But what I was explaining, when you have strong momentum like this, bearish on smaller time frames, bearish trend, and it's solid, you're getting these solid red candles, a single candle is not enough, in my opinion. This is where you want to wait for a complex reversal, like this formation over here, another failed low, a higher low, something that says that this area is going to hold up. You're not going to get the best price when you're waiting for a complex reversal, but you don't need the best price. You just need the general area to be right in the general area, because if it bounces off of here, right, you're looking at what? 60K is your next resistance, and then 64K. The levels don't change much. These levels have been on my chart for months. So you guys clear on that? Okay. I bought some BTC, still another small buy. Okay, cool, Alex. See, Alex has the right idea. He's seeing the investment opportunity. This is what investment opportunities look like. They're usually ugly and unexpected. So that's why you want to stay small until you get an opportunity like this. You realize opportunities like this don't occur very often. The previous chance you had was back here, and that was a month ago. What was that? July? That was like a month ago, right? What was that? July 6th, July 5, I mean, a month ago. So, and before that, you hadn't seen this level, at least anywhere near this level, until like, what was that? May 2nd. So in these 3 months or 4 months, you only had like 3 opportunities in this area, generally in the area. So you have to understand that's the investment time frame. That's what you're dealing with. So when you're an investor, you're looking throughout the year and you're waiting for these type of opportunities. And like I said, you don't go all in because this thing may continue lower, but at least you're getting lower prices. If we clear that 49K, if we take out that low, we're probably looking at 45K or 40K. It opens up the possibilities. That's not a forecast. That's just a increased possibility if this level is cleared. It has to be cleared though, decisively, not a pin bar. We can if we get another pin bar like right here, if we get another pin bar like right there, that doesn't count as a break. That's a failed low in that situation. So you have to have very specific definitions for things when you do this. If you're very vague, you're like, okay, that's good enough, you're going to have problems, right? When it comes to things like that, it has to be very specific. That's why the Trade Scanner Pro is so valuable, because it gives you a specific way to identify confirmations. Okay, Andrea asking, okay, BTC and Ethereum. Okay, so keep in mind when you do that, BTC and Ethereum, it's basically the same trade. You just, one is smaller than the other, but essentially it's the same trade. It's like buying the NASDAQ and the S&P together. Think of it like that. So your risk is you're just taking more risk on the same side. But there's nothing wrong with that. You want to have some Ethereum, whatever. Okay, it's the same deal. Okay, so you guys have any questions about this so far? Does this make sense? So again, when you're looking at this in steps, when you come to the market and you say, okay, I want to do something here. Is this an opportunity? Before you even get involved, before you even put any money on the line, you have to ask yourself, what is my goal right now? Am I looking at an investment, or am I looking at a swing trade, or am I interested in day trades? You can say yes to all three. Of course, I hope you have more experience before you do that. But for people that are more passive investors, this is the time. These are times that you wait for patiently. And when you get one, you have to take action. Okay. But you're controlling your risk with your size. It's important I have to reiterate, this can go lower. This is a game of probabilities, not accurate forecasts. Anyone that tries to fool you into thinking they have some sort of magic that's going to accurately forecast, I hope you don't give them any money, and you should stop giving them your attention, because they're just lying to you. No one can forecast. Like I said, was anyone calling for shorts up here? Any of your favorite fake gurus? Oh, Bitcoin's going to be at 50K in a week. I can almost guarantee it. No, these morons never see it coming. And they get everyone long at the top. And then they say, oh, it's the market. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, and buy some more. It'll come back. That's usually what they say, because they don't understand markets, or they don't care to understand markets. They're usually selling something. Anyway, all right, no more rants. You're long-term. Okay. So great. You're getting, this is the kind of level that's attractive for long-term. This is where you want to do it, not 70K. You want to do it here when you're testing 50K. That's when you want to do it. And if it goes lower, then there'll be more opportunity. So you don't want to get too big either. Now, that's the investor mindset. The swing trader requires confirmation, right? The swing trader needs confirmation. The investor doesn't, because you're going in small and you're planning to buy more anyway. You're dollar cost averaging. You don't really need confirmation for that, because you're just trying to accumulate an average position over time, and you're in all the time, so you're taking the most risk. Bitcoin can go to zero. It's a possibility. It's always a possibility. It may be a very small one, but that's a risk that you take, right? The swing trader doesn't take that much risk. The swing trader has defined risk. And that is why you need confirmation. And there's no inside bar. There's no complex reversal. There's nothing yet here. Just a lousy red candle that's trying to recover. And so far, nothing. We don't even have a green candle, just nothing. There's nothing there. So I would say this is an investor opportunity for the moment. It may go lower. There's no swing trade opportunity yet on this time frame. But as you can see, there's a little tail here. So there was some sort of buying opportunity here, right? And who's going to be able to identify that? People with the Trade Scanner Pro. if you know your levels, like 50K was a level, and you knew to go into counter trend mode around that level, because you should know that level in advance. It's a whole number. Now, today, when we get into the Trade Scanner Pro, I'm not going to talk about counter trend because I want to illustrate that tool for beginners, because that's who sign up for it. Okay. And beginners don't know how to utilize the tool effectively. So let's start getting into that. Unless you guys have any questions about this. It will go lower in, okay. I mean, it's not good to have opinions like that. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Don't have opinions. Just be open to both sides, right? It may, like what I like to do is if I'm going to form a bias, the bias has to be around a level at least, right? In line with the broader trend. So as we talked about, we're failed lows here within a broader bullish trend. We're at a range low within a broader bullish trend. I mean, this low right here, right? This low and this low are there's a relative proportion to them. Okay, these two lows. So that is typically what big reversals look like. And this, so if it's going to happen, this is the place for it to happen. If it doesn't happen and it keeps going, it keeps going. But the idea here is to align with the bigger picture and then wait for signs on the smaller picture so that I could manage my risk better as a swing trader. Okay. But opinions are the worst thing you can have. Don't have any opinions. Just work with let the trend and the levels define your expectations. And as they change, your expectations should also change. That's why I tell people you have to look at both sides, right? Just like up here, I was telling people high risk for longs, high risk for longs. Now I'm saying low risk for longs, low risk for longs, right? So I look at the risk, not, oh, we're going to break out and we're going to go to 100K, right? I would never say that here. Although it's a possibility, I don't say things like that because I know that we're at resistance levels and it's a place to sell. And I told people, take something off the table. You guys remember in the streams because we were going over it in the streams here as well. So guys, if you have any questions, let me know about Bitcoin. Real quick, now I don't normally do this on Bitcoin Day, but let's just take a quick look here at something like the S&P, right? Look at this. Any coincidence here? Look at this. The S&P, the evergreen, always going higher, right? Nasdaq, S&P stock market is just going to go higher forever, right? Man, we haven't seen a pullback like this in quite some time. Look at this. That is nasty. Okay, this is what happens to people who believe that markets just continue to go higher. Although all the people that go long here, think about it. Anyone that got long here and never got out of their stock or whatever, oh, it's going to go up forever. Wait a minute, how am I red? Okay, it went up, it went up, it went up, and now look at it. Now, again, this is not a bearish trend per se, not yet. This general trend is bullish, but this is not a time to be stepping in front of this thing. There's no reason to step in front of this, right? But it kind of gives you an idea. Whatever is being priced in here. Again, we had FOMC, we had non-farm payrolls. The market wasn't happy with those outcomes, obviously. We have stock company reports coming out this week, big tech reports. Some of them, the reports come out good, but not good enough. And this is what happens. Also, this time of the year, August going into October, is typically seasonally bearish. Something to keep in mind. Not a place to be aggressively going long. Usually the bottom appears, if there's a bottom to this, typically it appears in October. Okay, something to keep in mind. There's probably statistics on that somewhere. All right, anyway, so I just wanted to talk about the S&P real quick, which again is going to affect a lot of stocks, especially all the big name stocks, you know, all the mainstream herd mentality stocks that people like to get excited about. It's really interesting to listen to you. Argumented. Okay, cool. Well, yeah. So again, my perspective is price action. I don't get all wrapped up with all the news and all the drama and all the nonsense and all the garbage that is pushed your way. My information comes from one source, and it's the market. And I recognize the fact that when I'm analyzing the market on a chart like this, for example, I'm seeing a very incomplete picture. There's some very, very valuable information that's missing from this picture, and that is volume statistics. Now, when I say volume, right away, the first thought you're probably going to have is histogram on the bottom, the volume histogram. And you may say, well, just put the volume histogram. No, that's not what I'm talking about. That's not valuable or helpful at all. I need to see particular volume from particular players doing certain things at certain levels. That information will never be made available to the retail, ever. So because of that, we're always blind. We're generally blind. And we have to depend on certain market phenomenons like history repeats itself, meaning people that bought here are likely to buy again here. Okay? Doesn't guarantee that they will buy. Notice I use the word likely to buy. So that's the only game I can play. People that sold here are likely to sell here again. And there they are. Okay, in this general area. And as we can see, people sold here many times. Okay, back in March, back in what is this, June area, and then here we are here. In fact, I called this up here. You guys remember, and I got criticized for this. I said when we completed that, because that was a wave 5, when we completed that, I wrote in my TradingView article at the time, the party was over. I wrote that. I know Alex, I remember Alex reiterated that. The party was over. And so far, I've been right. There's been no more party. We have never went beyond 73K, right? Again, that has to do with when a wave 5 appears, usually what comes after is not bullish. It could be range bound, which is what this is. That's what I meant by party is over. I don't mean we're going bearish. It just means that we're done with the highs. Whoever was buying, the catalyst that was in play at that time is over. And remember, at this time, just to go back to kind of give you an idea, at this time, what was all the hype about? Oh, all the ETFs companies and Vanguard and blah, blah, blah. They're all buying. They're going to buy everything in sight. And Michael Saylor is buying and blah, blah, blah. And this thing's going to 1 million. Remember that nonsense? And all the retail fools that got caught in that and believe the garbage that's pushed in front of them, this is what happens. They get pushed out here, especially if you used leverage. All right, enough ranting. Let's move along here, shall we? Let me know if you have any questions. Yes, the party is over, and so far, it's still over. But these are attractive prices now where a new party could begin. This is when you should be looking, not at 70K. The funny part, which again is human nature, I can't change human nature. Everyone is interested in Bitcoin here. This is where people think, oh, it looks safe. Now is the time to buy. And then it's reinforced by frauds who tell them party's just getting started. I come out and tell you the party's over. And you know what people say to me? Hey, the party's not over. You're just angry and bald. Right? That's what I get. But that's, again, I can't change human nature. I've learned to be a contrarian and to unplug myself from the typical herd mentality. And that is why I can navigate environments like this and at least have my risk under control. I'm not right all the time. I lose money too, but my risk is controlled. And I don't get caught in any ridiculous situations where I wipe out my account or anything like that because I know how to define my risk. I can't tell you where it's going to go next, but I at least know I recognize certain things and I can define my risk better that way. Okay, the unboxing channel. Thank you. All right, you guys. Okay, thank you for the kind words. All right, I don't get too many kind words, really. Not from newer people, anyway. From my regular guys, yeah. All right, so let's talk about TradeScanner Pro, shall we? All right, so we have enough of this. You guys get the idea. I keep talking about it because there's just a lot to talk about. Let's switch over real quick. Let's change modes. Oh, by the way, before I do that, let's just turn it on this thing, and let's just see what the TradeScanner Pro says about Bitcoin right now. As you can see here, it's not saying anything. It just says the trend is bearish on this time frame, but the TradeScanner Pro only looks at short-term movement. So that's an important thing. When you're using TradeScanner Pro on the daily time frame, you still have to make the judgment on the bigger picture. Okay, so TradeScanner Pro says bearish right now. you have to recognize that it's not bearish. After, all the stuff that I talked about before, TradeScanner Pro is always going to give you the assessment earlier because it's looking at a smaller section. TradeScanner Pro is only looking at this, right? It's not looking at the entire thing. So that's just something to keep in mind, right? Because that tool is really made for smaller time frames, although you can use it for the bigger picture. And it was looking for longs all over here. Look at this. It was looking for longs. So you could see all the warnings, right? All these green columns, but it never called any longs. The most recent long was here on the TradeScanner Pro. You don't see any other longs here, do you? So anyway, so let me just make sure all my stuff is on. Okay, so we're going to keep counter trend off. But in this situation, if I turn counter trend on, watch, it'll probably give us another story. Counter trend, it was calling for shorts up here. Interesting. Called for shorts over here. This short probably got stopped out on this candle, I'm guessing. But man, if you were able to get back in on a smaller time frame, that was a nice trade. But we're not here to talk about counter trend. We're going to talk about trend, because as a beginner, that's what you should be looking at. Now, I'm going to change this chart, and we're going to go to Bitcoin perpetual futures. All right, Bitcoin perp, just for example purposes here. And let's see, let's go to MEXC. All right, just for example, it doesn't matter which one you use. And we're going to go to a 1 hour time frame. Here's the 1 hour. Interesting, called short right there. That would have been a nice short. They called another short over here too. So it's looking for shorts on the 1 hour time frame because the trend is bearish. Now, again, we talked about the levels on the bigger picture. This is where things can be confusing. So let me do this. Before we get into some details here, for those that are new, let me just explain real quick what the TradeScanner Pro does. So the TradeScanner Pro is a trend following momentum reversal system. It looks for the trend first. It identifies it. It then looks for a pullback in the trend. That's the second step. Once the pullback is identified, it looks for a change in momentum right here, which typically looks like this. Once it can identify all of that, it sends out a confirmation in the form of a trade idea. So you get a stop loss, you get an entry price, and you get a take profit. That's a signal, or another way of saying it, a confirmation, a trade confirmation. It gives trade order suggestions, and then you can follow that and place the orders in your account if you choose to do so. The nice thing about it is it tells you your risk for your chosen time frame, and it tells you a take profit for your chosen time frame. That's trend mode. As a beginner, it's the default mode. You should work with trend mode, and you should try to work with it on a 15-minute time frame. If you work on smaller time frames, it could be very noisy. Counter trend mode looks for this. And you only want to use counter trend mode when you have very specific levels in mind, like a 70K resistance, for example, on Bitcoin. Otherwise, counter trend mode could be a low probability mode, and you can get into trouble that way. So counter trend mode was made for more advanced users. That's why we put that in there, because I like to switch modes all the time, especially when I see these bigger picture levels. Think of counter trend as a way to synchronize your smaller picture with your bigger picture trend. So counter trend is only counter to the smaller picture. We're trying to use it to align with the bigger picture. Does that make sense? So if that's confusing, again, just stick to trend mode. All right, that's the higher probability. Steen had done an experiment because, TradingView has a contest that just started a couple of days ago. I think it was on Thursday. They started their contest, and he was practicing because it's limited. It's limited what markets you can trade on that, and he was up like 15 or 20% or something like that, following 15-minute charts. He put the examples in the community channel, by the way, so it's not like we're making this up. 15-minute charts, trend mode only. And he wasn't using the trailing stop. He was just using the take profit objective, the profit objective there. And he was able to come out ahead, even though half of his trades were negative. And his point was, don't let the negative trade, the losing trades, don't let them blind you. because when you win more than you lose. That is what puts you ahead. He was ahead by like more than 10% or something like that, okay, in a short period of time. Because again, he set up some specific rules and he followed them. Now, one thing I have to say about the Trade Scanner Pro, I'm not going to get into all the features here because it takes forever. You can try it out for 2 weeks. But what I want to say about it is it will give you like the confirmation that you're looking for. There are 3 types of trades: random, reversal, and continuation. As a trend follower, you're looking for continuation. So you want to start with 2 time frames. Your first time frame, your hourly, is where you want to work if you're going to day trade. I'm going to show you a day trade example. Let me rewind a bit here. Before you even start, you have to choose what time frame you want to work on. Day trade, which is going to be small time frames. Swing trade, which is going to be larger, like hourly, 4 hour or above. And then investing, which again, we're not going to talk about here. So in this case, I'm choosing day trade. This is before you do anything else. Now, once we know that, I want to switch to hourly because I want to get context from this chart here, okay? And then I have my smaller time frame, which in this case, I'm going to keep on a 15-minute for beginners, because as a beginner, you should be working on a 15-minute chart. So I'm about halfway through the decision-making process now. When I decide that I'm a day trader, that's going to shape my decision-making tree as I go forward. This is very important. Otherwise, you're going to run into confusion. I'm going to stick to trend mode only, again, to avoid and minimize confusion. Next, I need to get some context. Now, one other thing I want to point out real quick is when you use a Trade Scanner Pro on a 15-minute time frame, you're not going to sit in front of your computer for hours waiting for signals, because it takes hours for signals to develop on this time frame. It takes hours because you're dealing with 15-minute bars. So what do? You set notifications, okay? You could set it from TradingView. You just select this right here. This is a very important step that I think a lot of people don't do. Now, if you're advanced, okay, cool. But if you're a beginner, you should do this. You set this up, and the Trade Scanner Pro will send you a notification. However you want to receive it, you set that right here from TradingView. It depends on where you're located, but typically you should get the notification in a reasonable amount of time, perhaps a few minutes or a minute or less, something like that. But in some countries, it takes a half hour. And that's because the country delays the feed that goes through. Certain countries do that. But if you're not in one of those countries, then you shouldn't have that problem. The notification should come relatively quickly, right? Now, you set your notification. It will tell you when you get a heads up. It will tell you when you get a signal. It will tell you when they take profit or a stop loss is reached, which means you are now free to go do something else and just check your phone or check your tablet or whatever every once in a while, to waiting for your notification. But you have your plan in advance and you're waiting for a certain thing to occur. Does that make sense? That's very important. All right, now, so what are we waiting for? How do we know what to wait for? We have to do some analysis. Now, I know beginners, you need some work with this. I get it, but you have to do some work. There's no magic button here that's going to make you millions of dollars. There's no magical tool that's going to answer all of your questions. The Trade Scanner Pro takes a lot off your table. Yes, it makes things a lot easier for you because confirmation is the hardest part of this game. But you do have to do a little bit of effort, a little bit of work. And that work is simply identifying trend and levels. You can learn how to do this in a short period of time, a couple of weeks, maybe a month. And believe me, if anyone is the most realistic about this, it's me. I tell people it takes 10 years to get good at this game, right? But I'm talking about very advanced ways to play this game. Here, to learn how to identify levels and trend does not take long to do. It's very straightforward. It's very simple. You just have to understand what can happen at these levels, and then you need a way to confirm. That's the hard part, and that's the part that the Trade Scanner does for you. All right. So our goal here is to first identify the trend. The trend on this hourly time frame is clear. It says bearish up here. It says it. Trend is bearish. Okay. So we'll believe that. We're going to go with that. Now, remember, I just talked about on the daily time frame that we're in a bullish area, bullish reversal area, right? Remember that? So you have to keep that in the back of your mind. That does count for something. The larger the time frame, the greater the weight. So you have to decide, well, do I want to work on that time frame or do I want to work on the smaller time frame? If you're going to work on the hourly, which would be more appropriate for day trades or maybe swing trades, you have to decide if you're going to work with the bigger picture level, which is that 50K area, or if you're going to go with the momentum. So for the beginners, I would say go with the momentum, right? Because the catching the reversal is harder. So go with the momentum. This is clearly bearish, lower high, lower low. We're looking for a lower low. Even if it doesn't make the new low, you're at least aligning with the momentum. And there's a better chance your small time frame trade will reach its profit objective, even though you're going against that bigger picture level. But keep in mind, 64K was a bigger picture level. 66K was a bigger picture level. Those levels got cleaned right through. So if you were taking with the trend trades, they would have worked out in those areas on a 15-minute possibly when you went with the trend. Now, also keep in mind, if the trend does reverse from 50K, let's say we start working our way back up and we're pushing 55K or whatever, and this trend turns bullish, eventually you'll get a continuation trade on the side of that trend. It's just going to take longer. So you do have to have some patience for that if you're going to play that. If you want more trades, you're going to have to work on smaller time frames and on counter trend mode. You're going to have to understand that. I don't want to talk about counter trend mode here because it's confusing. And that requires more of like more specific instruction, right? So again, I'm going to assume you're a beginner and we're going to work in trend mode. So trend is bearish. We're working with that. If you notice here, I don't see it. It says trailing stop is active on this one. Sometimes you'll see a box here that says conflict. Conflict occurs when you get too many candles going against the momentum. So if this stays green and we get a higher high and it looks something like this, right? We get something like this. You're going to see conflict appear, which means the trend is still bearish, but it may be changing. So conflict is also a heads up. Now you say, okay, he keeps mentioning this heads up. What's heads up? So heads up is a mode. As you can see, when you first get TradeScanner Pro, you go to your settings panel, it's blank. It looks like this. So you have to turn certain things on. Make sure you turn the trailing stop, your historical trades, so you can see previous trades, and heads up. Counter trend mode is here also, but we're not going to turn that on. That's for more advanced traders. We're going to leave that off for now. Okay? Now, when I turn all that on, this is what we get on the 15-minute time frame. So as you can see, there's been a trade in play since here, hours ago. The trade retested the entry, gave a little green, right? This trade was profitable, and it's still profitable, but it's giving it back. If you notice here, the trailing stop right now has cut your risk in half. See this? So what is your risk on this time frame anyway? So we're working with a 15-minute. This is going to be much bigger than a 1 minute. So my initial risk on this thing is 2,000 points. So if you don't like that, like, man, that's way too much, then you're going to have to go to a smaller time frame. The risk on this time frame is 2,000 points. That's what the trade scanner says. So you know your risk, okay? There's no reason for you to get stuck short in something like this and lose 5,000 points because your risk is defined at 2,000 points. Now, the trailing stop, though, the whole purpose of the trailing stop is to reduce that risk if this thing starts going your way, which it had in this case. And as you can see here, the risk is now cut in half. This is the trailing stop. If this market turns and continues your way, eventually your trade becomes risk-free. But this risk at this time is 945 points. It's better than 2,000. Would you agree? So am I going to take this short right now, even though there's a short signal here? No. Notice this red column right here. The red column is a result of these heads-up candles, orange candles that tell you a signal is coming soon in the next 3 to 5 candles. Remember earlier when I said set your notification? Your notifications will tell you when these candles pop up. So you could be grocery shopping, you could be having a party, you could be watching a movie, whatever, and not having to watch a chart. And this thing will pop up telling you a signal is coming soon. That could be in the next few hours when you're dealing with a 15-minute chart. But at least you know something may be coming soon. There's no guarantee. It's always maybe. Okay? and then the signal appears, right? And then you, at that point, you decide, do you take that trade or not? Often when it tests the entry and then turns around like this, I like to, if I'm not in it, I like to see something like this to get in it. Or if I'm in one, I like to add. That's more advanced. You don't have to do that. Now, let's talk about what we have in front of us right now. So we assume there's no, we have never taken the trade. We just see the signal and we see this candle all, enthusiastic right here. We know that the 50K area is a bullish area generally, but when we're working on a smaller time frame like this, like a 15-minute relative to the daily, we have to keep in mind that the momentum is still generally bearish, right? So there's still a good chance that this thing turns the other way, and we're trying to play the momentum here. We're not trying to play the reversal, right? Our goal is to try to play the momentum. So let me ask you guys a quick question. What should I do here? Should I short this? Yes or no? I have a short signal in front of me, but should I short this? And anyone can answer this question. So, Steen, if you want to answer it. I'm in 1 hour right now, so I'll do a little bit more. I don't know if I'll be able to take a trade. I'll try. I may have to go to a smaller time frame. But Peter says no. Why not, Peter? Peter says I shouldn't take this trade. That's a good answer, but why? Sam, hey Sam, how are you? No. Lad says yes. I should go short? Okay, why should I go short? Why should I go short right now? And so again, I want beginners to see this, and I want beginners to understand this. There's a million things I can say here, but I don't want to, I realize when I get too advanced, I confuse people, and I don't want to do that. My goal is to clarify things for you so that you could build confidence. If you're confused, you will never be confident. And confidence is a key component to playing this game. You must have confidence because we're always dealing with uncertainty and we can't see what's in front of us. So in order to play this game, you must be confident that you're in control. Not that you're right, but that you're in control. So that if you're wrong, you blow this thing out and your loss is small. That's what confidence, that's how it helps you in this game. People think confident, oh, I'm going to be right. No, it has to do with you're in control. I'm confident that if I'm wrong, I'm getting out of this thing. That's where confidence comes in. But if you're confused, you're not even going to be able to do that. Okay, so Savi says resistance. Look at small resistance on 1 hour. Okay, so you guys are bringing some things up here. Yes, I never really went over this, but there is a lower high resistance there. Okay, but we got the short signal as we expected. My question is, though, should I go long now? So let's assume you're a beginner. You pull this thing up after everything. You say, okay, I got a resistance, blah, blah, blah. But the trade is in play. What do? Do I wait for another signal to set up? That could take hours and hours and hours, right? What do? This trade, by the way, is open. So in order for another trade to occur, this needs to stop out. This needs to go here, right? Stop out, which can take hours. And then I have to wait for a new signal to appear, which can take a few more hours. So my question is, what do I do right now? That candlestick is too large, Sam says. Okay, that's a good answer. Now, you guys see the resistance. Now, wait for confirmation at the entry. So look what Stian says here. Now, of course, I let Stian answer because he knows all the answers usually. But, and sometimes I tell him, don't answer, let other people answer. But in this is a hard answer. So thank you, Stian. Yes. Wait for confirmation. Look, we have the entry price right in front of us. And look at this situation that occurred previously. This is beautiful here. It tested, gave us a pin bar at the entry price, and gave us a beautiful reason to get short at this time. So I would like to see something like that again. Can we retest the entry price and then give us a let's call it a unofficial mini confirmation? Because the trade scanner obviously is not going to give you a confirmation again, unless you go to a small time frame. Like if I go to like a 1 minute, I'll probably get a short signal right here. You can do that if you're more advanced. But as a beginner, I want you to stay on the 15-minute chart. I want to minimize confusion. So I would like to see a retest of this price, the entry price, which is possible. Or if I don't get that, we may not get that. What I would like to see is at least this candle give me a pin bar, turn red, and take out the low of the candle. That would justify me entering. It won't be the best price. But let me ask you guys this. Let's say I get the red candle on my 15-minute. And also, you know what I'd like? If you guys can give me some feedback, tell me, do you like me explaining these situations like this, or do you prefer that I look for new trades and see if I could make some money even on paper? Which style do you prefer? Do you like me explaining situations so that you're prepared for them, or do you like to see me try to take action and observe my thought process as I'm taking real-time action? Answer that question. But all right, so let me point this out here. So you guys like the explanation. If we see a CS, what is that? What's a CSD? I don't know what that is. Closed? Is that a closed? Is that what you mean? So okay. So wait, now all right. So you guys are bringing up some good things here. So let me recap a bit. Let me rehash a bit. We know we have a resistance here, a lower high resistance, and that comes from our hourly observation. This is a resistance. That comes from our hourly, okay? So we know we should be looking for shorts in this area, right, for this time frame, even though there's a conflict on the bigger picture. We're shorting into a pretty conflicted area for shorts, but our expectations are relatively low. This is our expectation. That's our profit objective. We're not looking for this thing to go to 45K. We're only looking for this. And by the way, how much is that? What is our profit objective? 3,000 points. Is that right? Yeah, a little over 3,000 points. Okay, that's pretty significant. But that's what you're looking at on a 15-minute time frame. And that's not even a lower low. This is the lower low, right? The lowest point here is 48. Basically, we'll just to round it, we'll just say 49. Okay. That's the lowest point right there, basically, or slightly lower than that. We don't even need it to go that low. A lot of novices will be looking for this lower low, which is possible if you're working with the momentum. But the trade scanner says this level, and that's 3,000 points. That's plenty. So that's what's great about the Trade Scanner Pro is it gives you these defined levels. Okay. Now, let's talk about what's happening at this moment. So again, we're trying to answer the question, can I justify taking this trade? And what is my risk? So we're going to say that my entry will be the break of this candle low because that's acceptable. I got it. The pin bar closed. It's a pin bar. It's not red, but still it's a pin bar. And I can justify the entry on the break of the low. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to work, but I'm going to use that as my point of reference because it gives me a price to work with. Okay, so we take out that 15-minute low, I can short it, right? That's the rule that I'm setting up for myself. And I got plenty of time for that. As you can see, I don't have to rush here, right? My question now to you is, so we've decided, we've made a decision. We have an entry price. We have a new entry price. Even though this is the official entry price, I'm going to try to take it intra-trade, which is a little more advanced. It's nice if, it would have been nice if I could have had this situation here, okay? But you're not always, the market's not always going to be this generous. So we're trying to work with it. And we're trying to work on the side of the momentum. So I've made a new definition here. We take out that candle low, I'm going to short it on the 15-minute. Now, keep in mind, it still may reverse in my face, especially at this time of day. But my question is, what is my risk? Who can tell me what my risk is? How do I measure my risk? Change in the state of delivery. Okay, I've never heard of that. Is that a phrase from what do you call that? ICT? Don't tell me you're one of those ICT guys. Boy, do I have a rant on that one. I hope you're not one of those guys. Follow TSL. Okay, I don't know what is TSL? Change of state of delivery sounds like ICT. Anyway, they have all these fancy words for simple things. Don't even get me started on that nonsense. Trailing stop loss. Okay. Oh, so that to define the risk. You don't know ICT? You're not missing anything, lad. Okay, so let me see here. Armin says not complex enough. So Lad says the trailing stop. That's how we define the risk. And Lad, you're correct. So if I'm going to take a trade based on this 15-minute break low, this is my risk. Okay? I'm using the trailing stop. I'm not using this risk up here. Notice, because why? I have a trailing stop. Why should I take the full risk, right? When I have my risk defined here. So I go from the low of the candle to here to measure. What is that? It's 2,000 points. So I'm risking, if I take that low of the candle, I'm risking 2,000 points to make 3,000 points, ideally. It's still 1.5 to 1, basically, reward risk, right? That's 1.5 to 1, something like that. Maybe less. It's acceptable. It's greater than 1 to 1, right? I'm looking to make 3,000 points. I'm risking 2,000 points. Does that make sense? So, yeah, I'm just looking at the comments here. Okay. Now, Armin says not complex enough. Now, Armin, that's a good answer, but the thing is, we're dealing with a smaller time frame. And we also have a signal that's in play. So it's not like we're looking for a new signal here. We have one in play. We're trying to see if we could get in on the signal that's in play. So in a situation like that, you don't need to look for such complexity. A simple candle, one candle, will be adequate for this situation. Now, do you understand why? If we compare this to the Bitcoin situation at 50K, and I argued we need a complex reversal there because we're dealing with massive momentum, there's no buy signal there. There's nothing there. So that's why in those situations, I like to see a complex reversal. Here, we're dealing with a 15-minute chart. We have a signal that's in play. It's a momentum. It's a signal on the side of the momentum. So the probability should be on our side, at least in terms of this profit objective. It may not align with our bigger picture expectation, meaning we're expecting bounces off of 50K, but that's large magnitude. It doesn't mean that this thing won't go to 49K first and then bounce, right? So when we're in day trade mode, we want to keep that bigger picture in mind, but we can't get anchored to it because we're now there's a conflict between reversal mode and trend following mode. Smaller picture, the momentum is usually in play until you get some massive reversal pattern on there, right? So on our smaller picture here, I know this may be confusing. I hope it's not, but it's reasonable to touch this take profit. It's within reason on this time frame. On a 15-minute chart, it's within reason. So if you want to play that game, it's within reason. Even though we're looking for positions, we argued that this is generally an area for longs, right? Now, if I want to look for longs, it would probably make more sense for me to check a larger time frame, not a 15-minute, like an hourly, a 4-hour. Like if I switch this to a 4-hour, for example, right? This is a 4-hour time frame, okay? If I would have to, in order for me to find longs, again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, I'd have to switch to counter trend mode. And that simply has to do with my expectation of the level, which I derived from my previous analysis on the bigger picture. That's why I have the hourly chart up here, right? As you can see, we have heads up. We have warnings that a long signal is likely to develop soon on the 4-hour chart, which means it could be 4 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, 16 hours away. Meanwhile, it doesn't guarantee we will get the reversal signal, and we may test these lows again. That's what we're betting on the 15-minute. So you see how I'm separating the two? I'm going to turn this counter trend mode off now. That's more advanced. So I'm working with trend mode, and I'm sticking to the momentum on my relevant time frame. As you can see, I never got this break of candle low here, as you can see. So I sit here and I wait. We may get vertical green candles all the way up to the stop. And guess what? I have no trade, so I'm not exposed. Another scenario could be we pop back up to the entry price, which happens all the time. Okay, we pop back up to the entry price here. followed by another pin bar, something like we saw previously, or maybe like an inside bar. We take out the low of it, and that's your new entry to participate in this particular signal. When this signal, if this signal is no longer valid, right, it goes to the stop. It'll go to the stop, right? It'll go here. I'll draw a little rectangle there. It'll go here, right? Stop. It'll stop out the signal. The signal will vanish from your chart. The entry, the stop, and the take profit will vanish, and all you will see is just this reference point here as a historical trade. Just like if I go back on this chart and I look for historical trades, right? I'll show you one. This is what they look like. This is what they look like after they're closed. Okay, so that's how you know, oh, there was a trade there, and then you can play it back if you have the premium version of TradingView. You can play it back and see how it played out. A lot of times these stopped out trades offered some profit potential, or at least a chance to break even. And you say, well, what good is break even? Well, you have to look at it this way. You had a chance to make some money. The market no longer agreed, and you get out and you don't have to lose anything. Yet you still had a chance to make money. Everything is about probabilities in this game. All right, you following me? Okay, how are we doing here? So let me take Steen's comment off here. Sorry, Steen, I left it there for a while. Currently, but waiting for trailing stop. We'll cut it as time goes by. Okay. Okay. What about one-to-one, Andrea says? Andrea, that's a good question. You can change the reward risk if you prefer. That's more advanced. But if you notice here, right up here that I'm pointing, it says 1.5. You see that? That's your reward risk ratio. You can change that on the TradeScanner Pro. It says reward ratio right here on your settings panel. See where it says reward ratio? I'm pointing to that. It says 1.5. You simply change that to 1. And then when you okay it, what'll happen is it closes the trade because it needs, it'll only redo that for the new trade, but it'll put your reward risk at 1-to-1. So let me turn that back on so that we could see our trade. It'll change your it'll put the ratio between the two orders back at 1-to-1. At 1-to-1. So you could change that ratio to whatever you want. You could make it 2-to-1. That would be ideal. Like, for example, with the 50K support area, if you're saying, wow, this is a pretty major area, I'm anticipating a much bigger bounce than 1.5-to-1. You could change that and make it 2-to-1 or 2.5-to-1. You could do even something even more advanced and run the script 3 times on your chart and have 1 at 1.5, 1 at 2, 1 at 2.5. In fact, Lad, I think Lad, your Van, he showed us something like that, which was interesting. I never would have thought of that. A lot of fear in the market. So counter trend will be okay. Again, it's going to depend on the time frame you want to work on. But there's nothing wrong with counter trend as long as you understand what you're doing and you're picking levels that make sense, right? Don't pick counter trend for the sake of picking counter trend. You want to counter trend should always be associated with levels. Okay. So for example, if the trend turned bullish on the smaller time frame, like on a 1 minute, for example, but you're back at this level on the hourly, but your 1 minute is bullish, you would switch to counter trend, anticipating that this minor minor resistance holds. But if it breaks, you're gonna have a problem, right? So understand that counter trend for longs also would be here at this area. You'd be looking for counter trend like on a small time frame, like on a 1 minute. I guarantee if I look at a 1 minute on this pin bar, there's probably counter trend trade there. But you have to know these levels in advance. Don't take counter trend trades for the sake of taking them. That's why I don't want to get much into that. I don't want to confuse people. I'll do my next student meeting. I'll probably spend more time on counter trends. I have not done my July student meeting yet. I'm planning to do it this week, hopefully. I just had a very, very hectic schedule, so I apologize for that. But I plan to do the July student meeting, and we can go over counter trend in that. I could spend a lot of time with that there. Okay. All right, guys. So any other questions? So as you can see here, we're watching this trade. As a beginner, this is what you're going to be dealing with. I like to take like 1 minute trades so I can illustrate the TradeScanner Pro, but I recognize it's important for me to define these situations so that you know what to expect and you know how to handle these situations. It's all about having the right mindset and a simplified decision-making tree. If you don't have a decision-making tree, you will be confused. And you'll be like, I don't know. What should I do? Where do I put my stop? Where do I do this? What do I do? Oh, the market, I don't understand. I'm confused. And then you put on some fake guru and he tells you something else. So less is more in this game, as I always tell people. So in a situation like this, we've defined what to wait for. The market's not showing it. So we simply do nothing, even though there is a trade signal in front of our face. Now, you may be wondering, how do I sign up for this Trade Scanner Pro? No one's asked me here, right? Because most of you are people that have it. You simply go, I'm going to give you a link, okay? You could put it here in this link. I'll wrap this up here in a moment. I haven't been, in promotion mode here because it's, no one buys anything in August. That's why do you think TradingView is doing their contest? Anyway, so you go to this link, okay? TSCPRO. Hopefully I spelled it correctly. I think that looks right. You go to this link. I'm going to share it in the chat and I'm going to put it up on the screen. You go to that link and that will take you to this page right here. Okay. The Trade Scanner Pro page. This is Market Signals Pro. It's my website. So it explains what it is, how it works, tells you a little bit about me, and it brings you up to this section right here. So simply you sign up. You have 14 days for free. It will not bill you if you cancel in those 14 days. If you wait longer, you will be billed. Simply click on this link here. It will take you to this page, the sign up page. You can do yearly, which is $270. You're actually saving 25% off the monthly price. You have to make sure you put your TradingView username in here. That's the most important part of this. If you don't do that, you're not going to get your invite. So you put your TradingView username, and then you have 14 days for free. You will receive an invite. Listen carefully. You will receive your invite within 1 hour, usually less, but within 1 hour typically. So don't send me 10 emails asking me, how come you never got your invite 5 minutes after you sign up? Please have a little patience. If you do monthly, it's $30 a month. And again, that price, by the way, is ridiculously low. I'm probably going to double that price. So if you want to lock this price in, you have a lot of time and opportunity to do this now. Because once we have it, we're going to introduce overlays soon, where an overlay is just another script that goes on top of this one and that enhances certain features. And once we start putting those out, I'm going to raise the price. So take advantage while you can. I don't want to hear after that, oh, can I get the lower price? No, I'm giving you plenty of time to do it. So take advantage. All right. $30, by the way, is reasonable. I should be charging. I mean, I see people out there charging $1,200 one-time payment for scripts that are less useful than this. So I try to make this accessible. I want people to have a tool that's actually going to help them. I'm not looking to rob people here. And trust me, I'm not getting rich on these subscription rates. So my goal is to have a tool that actually helps people and that can pay for itself. Unlike Netflix subscriptions. Cancel Netflix if $30 a month is too much for you. You don't need so much entertainment. It doesn't make you money. I know, I'm just being funny. All right. So you guys got that? So just to update this situation right here, let's just see if you guys are paying attention. What is this right here? What is that? Anyone want to answer that question? What is this green candle? And I'll wrap this up here in just a couple of minutes. What is that? What is this? By the way, I have over 100 people watching and like 5 people participating in the chat. I think it's all the bots again. I have like 100 bots and like 20 people watching. I don't know why I have so many bots that like to watch me. Sir, please, this payment for what? I don't really understand. What payment? No, if you want to sign up for the Trade Scanner Pro, you have 14 days for free. And then you get billed $30 or $270. Depends on which one you pick. I don't know how to explain that any clearer, but it's pretty clear on the website. Inside bar, Steen says. Pin bar. Okay, Steen got it. No, this is an inside bar. I guess you can argue it's a pin bar, but what's more important here is not the pin bar portion. It's inside this candle. That's important. Why? because I can use that inside bar low as an entry. That's why. So I don't have to use this. I could use the original low, but now I have another reference price, and it's this one. See that? So I can make an adjustment. It's a better price. It's slightly better. Inside bars can be reversal patterns or continuation patterns. It depends on the context of the situation. I'm looking for a reversal here, so I will use that as a reversal pattern. So now, see, we're talking specifically about candlesticks. We're getting a little bit more advanced because in order for the TradeScanner Pro to call this now short, I'm going to have to look at a smaller time frame if you want the TradeScanner Pro to call it. But the reason why I don't want to show that is because we want to work with these parameters. I want to work with this take profit, right? I want to work with this. Can I get an arrow? I want to work with this take profit, and I want to work with this risk. If I switch to a 1 minute, I'm going to get a smaller risk and a smaller take profit. It may be confusing. So I'm trying to enter on this 15-minute chart. I'm looking for points of reference. Yes, it's a little bit more advanced, but you have no choice in this situation. It's either that or wait, for a new signal, which can take hours. And that's going to happen. So be prepared for that. I get people that come to me and they be like, "Oh, I did a TradeScanner Pro and I've been watching it all day and not one trade." I'm like, well, what time frame are you on? Well, I'm watching a 4-hour. Bro, it can take days to get a signal on a 4-hour chart. So again, I want people to understand how this works. I know I can't explain every little detail, and I know some things are left out and people are confused. I apologize for that, but I'm doing the best that I can. Okay. So if we see a bearish candle close below the bullish candle, then we go short. So I'm not looking for a bearish candle close in this situation. I'm just looking for break of low. That's all I'm looking for. It'd be nice if the candle closes bearish, but here's the problem with that idea. The candle may close bearish and the candle may look like that. I'm not going to wait all the way to this to get short. I want to short it here, up here, if I get that opportunity. So that's my point of reference. See that? Now, who said long? Bullish. I hope you're joking, Dejan. I don't want to go bullish in it. My premise here is to go short, right? So that's why, even though a bullish signal can appear by that definition, break of inside bar high, I'm not interested in bullish trades. So I filter that out. See that? Okay, look. So we're breaking it. So I'm going to short it just for fun. Short 2 contracts on paper. All right, and I'll wait a few minutes. We'll see how it goes. Now, I don't expect this thing to go to its profit objective while I'm doing my stream here, because I'm going to be wrapping this up here in a couple of minutes. I'm not going to wait another 2 hours. I'm speaking for 90 minutes as it is, and that's too long. Okay, these are only supposed to be an hour, but I get carried away, of course. And, anyway. So as you can see on the hourly here, that's a bearish pin bar. Nice on the hourly. See that? I like to see that. That hourly still has another 30 minutes before it closes. So I don't know if I'm going to get that pin bar, but it's certainly nice to see. We took out the inside bar low barely, but I see the red candle. Keep in mind, this candle has been only open for half of the 15 minutes, right? It's been like 8 minutes or something like that. This candle may close up here. That's possible. So you have to be careful of that. Like, reacting to candles can be problematic in that way, and it's going to happen at times. But so far, let's see how this candle closes. I'll probably give it to the candle close, and then I'll call it a day. Let's see how it closes, just so we can watch. All right. So good answers, you guys. You guys have been following. Savi, so if you're a swing trader working with 4 hours and 1 day chart, and you need notifications as it might take days, yes, you should use, when we put this thing originally together, that was the whole idea, is so that you're not stuck. You can't sit in front of a computer for hours waiting for stuff. Use the notifications, right? You just simply go here. It's very simple, right? Put this on like that. You choose it right here. It should be on your list. And that's all you do. You tell TradingView how you want to receive the notifications. You choose one of these options, and that's it. You're done. And then you wait for your notification. So that's a huge advantage to do something like that, because you don't want to sit in front of your computer. The scenario where you would not use notifications really is if you're working like on a 1 minute or a sub 1 minute. Like I've shown many examples of that. That's when you're play by play, you're in it, and you're in front of your computer. That's for a very, very active day trader type of thing. But most people are not that. So that's why I highly recommend using the notifications. Now, in a situation like this, Savi, that we're observing right now, you're not going to get notifications for this. This is now we're going in a little extra here, a little more advanced, and using our analytical techniques to find an entry within a signal that exists. The notifications you would have gotten if you were waiting for this is you would have gotten the heads up and you would have gotten the entry, okay, which were a few hours apart here. Because remember, each is 15 minutes. It's a couple of hours here. And then you would have been notified here, okay? I don't think this little situation right here, you would have not have been notified. Because after you're in, the only other notification you can get is an exit. So either you're going to touch the profit objective or you're going to touch the trailing stop at that point. And that's going to be your next notification. Okay. So you guys are saying it'll go lower. Maybe. Here's the thing. I don't know. It's no longer up to me. Another great thing about the Trade Scanner Pro, it takes all that off your plate. No opinions here. The Trade Scanner Pro will guide me. So there's only two outcomes for me. We go to the take profit. Well, I'll say three outcomes. We go to the take profit. Okay. We go to the trailing stop, or I exit earlier. Maybe I exit somewhere in this area. That's a possibility, but that's going to be up to me if I decide to do something like that, if I have that opportunity. Those are basically my three choices. I mean, I can also, if we pop back up here, I don't have to wait for the trailing stop. I can just get out. I also have that option as well. We have to always have a flexible mind. See how the thing is giving me a hard time? I'm not surprised. So we don't go into this with any opinions. We don't root for the position. It's now in the hands of the market. Right? I've made my decision. I've done my analysis. I know what I'm trying to do. I know what I want to see. This thing may not agree with me. That's the random nature of the market, especially when you're dealing with smaller time frames. Like I said earlier, the candle may not close red. And that was a pretty decisively red candle, wasn't it? And now it's giving me a bullish pin bar. And look, we took out the high of the inside bar. I see. See what I mean? Market doesn't agree, but I'm not going to react. We'll see how we close. How much time do we got? We got a few minutes to the close. So here's what I'm going to do. If we close green, I'm getting out. I'll just take the loss. If we close red, well, I'm not going to continue the stream, but I would let it ride if I was going to spend more time on the stream if we closed red. But as you can see, we went from red back to green very quickly. That's typical, and you're going to have to deal with that. So it's good that you see that. Now, keep in mind, I took this trade as an aggressive entry because I missed these two opportunities. So I took this third opportunity, which I, really had to stretch to get involved in that. And when I do things like that, I am facing a lower probability because, look, I'm getting at a worse price, and this can go wrong, just like this. So be prepared for that, okay? So I'm going to wait till the candle close. Just because it's green at the moment doesn't mean it's going to close green. Now, this thing can also do this to me in the next couple of minutes, right? Maybe some news comes out or something. It can do it. That's why I have the trailing stop, and I have to respect it. Make sure you respect the stops. If you don't, you're asking for big trouble. You must respect the stops. Even if you're not using a hard stop, you're using a mental stop, respect these levels, respect the stop. It will protect you from losing a lot of money. Sure, you're going to lose money, but it will minimize the loss. Like Stian's example that he shared in the chat channel. Half of his trades were losing trades, yet he was ahead by like 10 or 15%. How is that possible? It's because when he wins more than what he loses when he loses. It's that simple. That's 1.5 to 1 reward risk, even though 50% of his trades were losing trades. So, and he showed the trades. So keep that in mind. Okay. All right. So what I went over here pretty much is how to work with this at the beginner level, what kind of situations you're going to be facing. And I encourage you to give this a try. Understand that it takes some time. All right, we got time. Is it there? All right, so I'm going to give it 2 minutes. It takes some time to get used to this. Paper traded at least a week. You have 14 days. Give it at least like 10 days or something. When I see these cancellations after 1 day, I'm like, man, this guy's a novice, because if it takes more than 1 day to recognize the value. Now, granted, I understand maybe they don't have the best instruction and they're assuming a lot of things, and that's what happens when you lack experience. And that's why I'm here on these streams trying to educate people. Also, there are links to some previous videos that I've done that I hope clarify the situation, but we'll update those links as well when I have more content that like this, that's very specific to certain types of traders, like beginner traders that may not understand the nature of such a tool relative to the random nature of the market. Wow. So you've been following me that long? Sabi, cool. That's good to know. Thank you. I appreciate that. Now, some people have been following me for a long time. So you guys know my story hasn't changed much, has it? From 2017 until now. That's a long time ago. My story hasn't changed a whole lot. I'm not selling shoes. Okay. So, I mean, a little testament to consistency. Anyway, cool. Appreciate that. All right. So we got the 15-minute close. I mean, this candle is really not, if I was going to stay here and watch this trade play out, I would probably stay in this longer, because that candle is not impressive at all as far as going against me, right? But I'm going to close the position because I said if it closed green, I'm getting out. All right. So I got my 2 lots. Let's see. I'm minus, like, what is that? $700 something. These must be big contracts. Okay. This thing hasn't gone against me that much. This thing was only against me. Those must be, I had 2 contracts on, but those must be, the size must be enormous on those. Because, I mean, you guys saw this thing wasn't, the bottom of that 15-minute candle to where we are now, come on, wasn't that much. Let me just take a look at a 1 minute. This is what's going on the 1 minute. Interestingly enough, there's a long signal in play on the 1 minute. Interesting. Look at that. But you see how tight the 1 minute is? Look at that. Right? I mean, let's just compare risk-wise. The risk on a 1 minute is 269 points. Actually, no, I think that number was accurate before. There was just, I had 2 contracts on, and this is a pretty significant move. 264 points. And the take profit, 415 points. All right, so the market's just, what it is? The market's moving is what it is. There's a lot of movement. Yeah, well, you were right, but on the 1 minute. Again, I was playing the 15-minute. So if I was still in that 15-minute, I'd still be betting on that bearish trade, because it may take some time for it to play out. It's a 15-minute, right? But the 1 minute, again, you could see the tightness of risk and the much lower profit expectation. Remember, the 15-minute was showing me a $3,000 point profit objective. The 1 minute is only showing me a 400 point profit objective. You see that? My risk is also tighter. So there's usually a lot more noise on the 1 minute. There's a lot of trades that occur here. That's why I wasn't showing this today. But next time we could get back more into a 1 minute. I just want to show people on the 15-minute what they're going to be dealing with, because that's what you should be working with as a beginner. All right, you guys. So again, thank you for listening. I hope you got something out of today's stream. Again, check the links in the description. Like and subscribe to the channel if you appreciate my content. Also, go to my Twitter channel and subscribe to that as well. That's helpful. It's amazing how no one subscribes. Like, my numbers go up like barely on that thing, and there's some valuable information there. If you have any other questions, you can always find me. You can send me messages on TradingView, on Discord, or you can send me an email, mark@markpremarkets.com. I usually get back within a day. If you get a message from me first, that is not me. I do not initiate messages. So if you get a message from me and I'm asking you for money, block that person, report that person. It's a scammer. It's not me. Please don't give money to someone like that. Okay. So anyway, Again, thank you guys for watching, and we'll leave it at that. Okay, so enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your evening, wherever you are in the world, and thank you for watching.